Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, January 10th, 2022. We're already on our second live stream or second Monday night live stream of 2022. I hope you all are doing well. The weather has been okay, been a little chilly. Mid 40s, I think, was our high today. And of course, temperatures are high 20s, low 30s overnight. Winter's here. Just put it that way. Winter's here. It took it a while to get here. I was looking at a video, Facebook. We have or my regular Facebook, and then of course the Joe Daddy's Facebook, and a video popped up from 11 years ago today of me riding. I had bought a little Honda 70 four-wheeler, the little ATVs. Anyway, I had a little Honda 70 four-wheeler, and there was probably 4 inches of snow out here in my driveway. And I was out doing donuts and playing on that little four-wheeler. So at least it's not snow. I can take a little cold. I'm okay with, but I don't want any snow. I don't want any freezing temperatures and all that stuff. So I'll be happy to say 46 is a good number right now. But winter is definitely set in. Regardless, I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you had a good weekend. And, we're here to talk about cars for the most part. For those of you that may be randomly joining this live stream, we try to focus on classic cars, cars from the 60s and 70s mostly. And it could be any brand. It doesn't matter. I don't necessarily have favorites. Some people may be Ford people, some may be Chevy, some may be Dodge. I'm not. I like cars, period. So we can talk about just about anything. If you have a question about your classic car or something, you just trivia question you might want to bring up, great. We can talk about that. I do offer a bell as a reward if we have a good question and also for good answers. So it could be me giving the answer. It could be anybody in the, whoops, I always do that wrong, in the chat box over there. It's a reverse image. I need to remember to take my right hand and point to my left shoulder because we have a chat box on the side where people can respond to questions as well. And we usually have a great group that show up. We've had, I've had in the past year as many as like 100 people here on the live stream. I think I tend to average 40, 50 or so on Mondays. And Thursdays, I also do this at 3 o'clock. And that number is usually around 25 to 30. And that's still good. It's still good. It's nice to bring up topics and have conversations and things to talk about. And we may have a guest tonight. So just let you know that right now. Brian has contacted me earlier, and we may do a live, a chat on here. I don't know if he has a camera function, but we can at least have him on here and see how that goes. Hopefully everything works out. But for now, let's see who's here. And right off the top here is Brian B. He says, hi, first one here. Hey, guys, can you believe I can't find a posi carrier from my 96 Ranger? Weird. For the front, it's a Dana 28. Nobody makes one. Hope all are well. Now, see, that's a new subject. I'm not familiar with, in this case, a 96 Ranger. And he's looking for a posi front carrier. So not familiar with that enough. Maybe somebody else has some information on that. But Brian, glad you're here. You get first bell. Hooray. Afternoon, folks. Hope everyone is well on this 10th day of January. Yes. Hope you're doing well as well. Let's put it that way. And Brian saying, Brian, what about front? A four-wheel drive Explorer. What about front from a four-wheel drive Explorer? Is his question to Brian for that Dana 28. Terry Keithley, hi Barry and everyone. Hit the thumbs up and like button for Barry. Thank you kindly. Yes, thank you, Terry. Appreciate you being here. And Robert, afternoon all, had to warm up the shop just a little today. Yeah. Well, if you'll notice, there's nothing sitting here right now in my shop. I've had the heat on. I rearranged stuff yesterday because the Honda is almost done. I'm working on a video right now, or I was working on a video trying to get it edited so I get it out this week. And it'll be the Honda Civic Part 7. And bolting everything together, making it fit and everything. But that car is almost done, and when it is finished, it will be put up for sale and hopefully make some good money off of it. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But I moved the Honda to the back. I mean, to actually it's out sitting outside, and the Mustang is now in the back, so it's in a paint booth, safely out of the way. Um, Part of that is planning, hoping that I get somebody um, to show up and make this convertible exit the building. We're working on getting that moved to the next builder so he can finish it. And I don't want to have anything in the way. I want to be ready to go. If he shows up and says, "Hey, I'm ready for the car," get it out the door. So also along with that, I have a box sitting over there. You can see I think you can see on the side. It says Yes Welder. Now that is another welding unit they sent me. It is the multifunction, like I don't know, 4 or 5 function welder / plasma cutter. So everything is shoved in one box now. So I have the Yes Welder, whatever, sitting over there, and I have their plasma cutter sitting over there, and now I have that as a whole big unit sitting there. They have asked me to do a video on that, and I don't know if I'm going to be doing that video for them directly, like for them to put on their channel, or they want me to do it for my channel. I'm not 100% sure, so I haven't started on that video yet. But that's what's in that box right there, the new first test. I don't know, whatever it is, some big combination thing. So that's coming up as well. So that's another reason why I wanted to have this space cleared out so I could make that video for them. Bob, hello Bear, how you doing tonight? Finally got my windows all apart, no problem. Thank you, sir. Excellent, glad to hear that. I know you were struggling with the screws and all that. It gets really complicated, and I'm glad you got it apart. The fun part is putting it back together. So hopefully you have a roadmap that'll help you get there. I know in the past I did share a picture that somebody had sent me, and I don't know if I still have it or not. But it was a cutaway. Yeah, right here. It was this cutaway that shows how everything was placed in those doors. Now, this is for a 67, I think is what it says in the bottom. Let me pull your comment down so I can see. Yeah, these all say 67. Now, I probably don't have the direct link to that anymore, but that picture is pretty informative. Pretty informative where everything needs to go. Interesting that it shows the door wiring and the placement there with the, I guess, it had the light or whatever that was in the door. So anyway, maybe that'll help. I don't know. Let me see if I can pull that back down. All right. Let's see. Brian is saying, Ray Buckman, no, it's a Dana 28 specific. No one makes a stock configuration. Okay. Brian also says Robert, he's been watching your channel and subscribe. Good stuff. Good. Robert, Brian, Power Tracks makes a unit for the Data 28 with 23 spline axles. So there's some information for you. And also, okay, working on his rotisserie back and forth. A couple conversations on the side there. He's talking about the rotisserie that Robert made. So if you haven't seen that, check that out. He said it's on the sketchy side, but it works. My lawyer would definitely say no, though, for letting somebody else use it. Okay, I'm going to skip over a couple of those. I know it was a side conversation, which is fine. Troy, good evening, all. I hope everyone is having a good night. Yes, it's doing pretty good. I mean, it's okay here so far. And Steve, hello from cold and snowy New Paris, Pennsylvania. I'm glad you have the snow. I don't want the snow. No snow. Jerry, good evening from Middle Tennessee, from the Money Pit. Glad you're here, Jerry. And Rick Stevenson, howdy, folks. Big Kingfish 2003 says, hey. Nandu, good evening, everyone. Glad you're here. And Rick, Gain. With all the cold weather and snow on the ground, at least we can still talk about the cars. Hope everything's going or doing well. Yes, that's the thing. We can still stay inside where it's warm and have a conversation. Jerry says, "Sorry, I missed Thursday. Thursday, I was at the World of Wheels show. Placed runner up to class, an outstanding display. Okay, well, placed runner up. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Congrats on that." Ray, did anyone else get warned entering this video? What was your warning? Because I'm curious about that. I'm curious about that because whenever I was setting up the video, this is something new that the YouTube has popped up on me, and it said age restricted. Like, I don't know. It says age restricted videos are not shown in certain areas of YouTube, and let me change that. There's no reason to have that on there. Let me change that. I don't know why they've added that thing as an option. They have a thing. Is it made for kids? No, it's not made for kids. A secondary thing says age restricted. And then the third one says doesn't include a paid promotion. No. So sorry about that. I'll try to keep an eye on it. YouTube is probably changing rules again that I don't know about and probably popped it up. But thank you for bringing that up. Hopefully it fixes itself since I've changed the settings. Richard, greetings from West Tennessee to everyone. Glad you're here. Wally, going to set some records. Negative 29 tonight. Is that negative 29 Fahrenheit? I assume. I hope. Wow. That is cold, Wally. I'm glad you're here, though. That is cold. Wagon Rod. Hello from Chile, Southwest, OHIO. Glad you're here, Wagon Rod. Rick, 25 in New Jersey, going down to 14 tonight. Yep. And Steve says, I did, Ray. Okay. I'll get the warning. Yeah, I don't know they changed something on me. Dave Conville, good evening, everyone from Chile, New Jersey. Almost too cold, even in the heated garage. Well, I'll give you a Dave bell anyway, since you're here and you're in a chilly garage. I'm assuming. Jerry says, I'm surprised about the Yes Welder .023 wire. Yeah, I am too. I don't know what's really confused by that thing. Hopefully this model works better, but we'll see. Raleigh Pacheco. Good evening. Glad you're here, Raleigh. Wagon Rod. Cars, period. Awesome. Yeah, cars. Any cars. Boogie Bum. Hi, all from Nashville. Glad you're here. And Raleigh looks empty tonight. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it feels empty when there's not something sitting behind me. Buck's Woodshop is checking in. Glad you're here, Matthew. Dale Haverson, howdy from Dallas. Glad you're here, Dale. And Wagon Rod, Brian, he's asking, Brian, could you do a solid axle swap instead of having the Ranger type independent suspension? Could you do a solid axle? That's a thought. And Raleigh, so if you can find a 95 Ford Ranger regular cab, my 95 Ranger had limited slip front and rear, but it also had a Ford high ride package. So there's some information. Never heard of the high ride package, but there you go. Thank you. Bigfoot. Hi, it's Fly Poo. Changed my name. Okay. Oh, I'm glad you're here regardless. Ray Buckman, gee, I'm glad I don't talk the way my typing comes out. Okay. Yeah, I know that feeling. Dale Haverson, just got the maybe inappropriate warning. I took that off. I don't know why. I don't know why that's there. That's stupid. There's nothing age restricted in these. And if I look, I actually looked at what it said. The age restricted thing. Let me tell you, this is stupid to me. It says, if any of your videos are not appropriate for viewers under 18, you can add an age restriction. Okay. When a video is age restricted, viewers must be signed in at 18 years of age or older to view it. These videos are not shown in certain sections of YouTube. Age restricted videos may also have limited or no ads. When deciding whether to age restrict content, you should consider issues such as violence, not here, disturbing imagery. Well, I don't think any of that's here. Nudity, there won't be any of that, I can tell you. Sexually suggestive content, no. And portrayal of dangerous activities. Yeah, none of that. So I turned that off. That's off. Don't need to have it. Bubba Ayers. Hi, everyone. Dallas, Fort Worth. Glad you're here, Bubba. And A70 Maverick. What are your views for doing a 62 Galaxy body swap onto a 2011 Crown Vic P71? Do it. Why not? I mean, I have no issue with that at all. These old cars, you know, the suspension, the drivetrain, the brakes, all that stuff was 60s era, right? If that body swap will work and you can set a 63 body on a 2011 Crown Vic chassis, I'm not against that at all. Really not. Because ultimately, now I will take this with a grain of salt. You have people that are purists, right? That want the car to be exactly as it came from the factory. So it had drum brakes and it had, let's say a Chevy 2-speed power glide or a 3-speed transmission, automatic and carbureted and a single bowl master cylinder. People want that, and that's fine. That's fine. But the reality is, at times, those cars can be dangerous on the road. They can be. Because a lot of us, the bulk of us, probably most of our driving public right now, are used to modern vehicles with modern braking systems, ABS, all the power options, stuff that will save us if we're doing something stupid. And suddenly we have to do a panic stop, and that car will save us in most cases. I know I've had experiences myself driving difference between my little Honda Fit with fantastic ABS on it versus some other vehicle that I've had. You have to have a different mentality. And a lot of times people don't drive that way. They see a car and they don't think about, hey, that car doesn't have ABS, or that car, they pull out in front of somebody or whatever. But to have some of the modern conveniences, I'm not against that at all. Now, if it was a one-off special car of some sort, whatever terms they use for denote that as a special one-off, I don't know. I probably wouldn't do it to one of those, but a plain Jane 63 Galaxy, yeah, I'd do that. I would do it if I had the parts, if it was in my to-do list of things. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Boogie Bum, yes, received one in the content might not be suitable for all. Okay, I fixed that. It's silly. Ray, something about language or yes. Okay. Dale, maybe inappropriate is all said. Okay. Troy, you told me it was inappropriate content. You need to cover your headlights. Yeah. Some pasties. Yeah. Bob wouldn't let me sign in my TV. I've got to watch your show on my phone. Okay. Try again, Bob. I don't know if it's your phone, if that age restriction is part of that or not. I changed that. So hopefully it's better now. Wagon rod inappropriate. They don't want kids into cars. Well, it's hard to say why it triggered that. I've never had that. They probably updated their format or whatever. And normally I just click on not meant for kids, which is there's a whole advertising venue, let's say, that deals with videos that are meant for kids and videos that aren't meant for kids, as in cartoonish type stuff. There was their whole big thing on YouTube about that last year, because people were creating content and just basically creating commercials so that kids were being bombarded with commercials. And anyway, that's a whole nother thing. So they created a new rule for content kid related or not kid related. It's complex. Wally, at that temperature, C and Fahrenheit are the same. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I understand. Dave, negative 40 is the same in Fahrenheit or Celsius, so negative 29 is cold in all languages. That is true. Let's just not go to Kelvin. We don't want Kelvin, right? Crash Rider, good evening from Southern Indiana. Welcome to Daddy's Live. Wheels and Meals will tonight feature Mustangs and mashed potatoes, Camaros and chickens, or Studebakers and steak. That's a good headline. I should use that. I should use that. Thank you. Glad you're here, Crash Rider. Gene, hey, I'm modifying my 8-point Explorer rear for my 66 Mustang and listening in. Awesome. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Troy, he's Bigfoot's laughing at Troy. Okay. Bad Harry's Hideaway. Hi, Barry and all from the Great White North. Welcome. Glad you're here. Bob Noel, I agree with you, sir. I updated my 67 Mustang brakes to rotors for work. For this brakes, you stop on a dime. Yeah, it's a whole different thing. Whole different thing. Wagon Rod said, "Who's your daddy?" Kenneth. Hi, Barry. Thanks again for the help on the oil filter. I did find out that you can replace the oil inlet fitting if needed. Okay, and just to follow up on that, we had a conversation going last, I don't know if it was last Thursday or Monday. Kenneth was having trouble getting the filter on a recent engine swap. And we tried to troubleshoot it. It's hard to troubleshoot with you're not there. He had sent me some pictures, and I was like, pictures look fine. I couldn't see anything wrong. And they got it figured out. It was just the angle. They could not have the angle quite right. And once he got the angle straightened out, it went on fine. But I'm glad you got it figured out, and I'm glad you found that you can replace the fitting if needed. Thank you for sharing and following up on that. Terry, I got in late, so it must be fixed now, as I did not see that. Okay. Yeah, I fixed it. So glad you're here, Terry. That looks like a new name. I have not seen Terry Mott before. Glad you're here. Terry, are they trying to censor our talk on food? Yeah. Maybe so. Wagon Rod, there are a lot of cartoons not meant for kids. Well, it's really about what they were finding was people were creating somehow they were creating content. It was really just becoming a commercial, and these kids were being bombarded with all kinds of commercial stuff because of a popular cartoon thing. And so because kids will watch a video, unless you're sitting there with them and you hit skip on the ads, they might throw 50 ads on that thing. And now the kid is just thinking he's watching a cartoon, and he's really watching advertising. And because it just sits there and runs and runs and runs, people were making a killing off of kids just watching mindless stuff. So that's why they corrected all that. Mason, hey, Joe Daddy's Garage, where's Jade? Jade is in the back booth, in the paint area, on her hiatus. She is just put away for the moment. I have things going on out here that I'm going to be dealing with, and so just kind of rearrange some things. Cooter, we're going to have to stop talking about junk in the trunk so you don't get flagged. Yeah. Yes. Dale pulled the heads off the Cougar 289 and found a 302 block underneath. What's the fastest way to check the stroke? The fastest way is, all I can tell you is, if you have a way to measure, is to run the piston all the way to the bottom of the cylinder. If you're just with the crank in, run the piston all the way to the bottom, take a measurement, from the piston to the top of the block face, and just cycle it up. I mean, it should be an easy way to do it. Should be. And there may be another way, but that's the only thing I can think of at the moment, is to measure from where the top of the piston is to where it bottoms out, on the rotation of the crank. So that's going to give you a number. Mason, what year is your Cougar, Dale? So there's a question for you. And Wagger on it. I have not seen a video from you I wouldn't let my children watch. Thank you. Yes, thank you for that. That is that's the way it is. I'm not going to um well, there's never been any kind of foul language on my channel, or either of my two channels, and I don't try. I've never tried to manipulate any of that stuff. It's just not who I am. So, yeah, Dale, thanks. That was my plan. Yep. And Dale is saying it's a 67. Okay. Brian, the crank is stamped 289 or 302. Yeah. And 67, just like me. It's a good year. Good year. Wagon Rod, Iron Man for the win. Yes. Mason, is your Cougar a convertible, Dale? Also, do you have a cassette player in it or 8-track? You know, hey, here's something I need to show you. I'm glad you brought that up, Mason. Let me give you a little background story here. Just a little background story. This past week, or actually probably in the past few weeks, but there's a property not too far away from me, probably 3-4 miles. And it is in a congested area. Let's say you've got some a grocery store chain, you got some restaurants, and this is kind of in a corner facing away from them. The lot that's there is like a 13-acre lot, I think, and it's been for sale for a while. And somebody bought it, and they've taken all of the trees off this lot. I mean, it's gone. Well, I knew there was at least one house in there. I found now that there were 2 houses and 2 garages. And I know the people that are developing the lot. I know the company, and I know somebody who works for that company. And I called him up and I said, hey, tell me what's going on with the houses and the garages and whatever there. And they said, it's all going to get destroyed. It's all going to get put in a dumpster. And I said, well, I would like to see what's there, if anything. And they were like, yeah, go ahead. You find anything it's there and you might be, interested in, take it. It's all going in the dumpster. So I did a little exploring. I actually took my little Osmo camera with me, and I filmed going to the lot. I filmed the inside of the house, or the 2 houses and the garages, and there was really not a whole lot there. Let's just put it that way. However, the one garage in the back of the first house, separate detached garage, it had a bunch of Ford boxes in it, like, Ford logo boxes. So most of them were empty. Some had a item or 2 in them, and there was just some random stuff in there. And there was like there were a bag of their clothes was all over the floor, and just kind of random stuff. In the back of that, there were actually some wheels, some steel wheels, 15x7 Ford wheels, standard black, wheels. And I was like, well, I'll take those because, why not? It's hard. If you try to buy a new or a standard steel wheel, I think they're like $80 or $100 now for a wheel. Like if you bought it new from Summit, something like that. There were a pair of bumpers back there with a license plate on one of them from 1971. And there was a door, like a driver's side door, like, I don't know what it was off of, but it was either a hardtop or a convertible because it did not have a frame around the window, around the top of the door. So I'm looking at this stuff, and, the door, I thought about grabbing it just because, but I realized I don't have a purpose for this. It still had the trim on it. It was white. It had 2 pieces of trim on it. But I was like, what am I going to do with it? I don't have any use for that. So I grabbed the wheels, and I started looking and see what else was there. And since you brought up 8-track, let me show you what I grabbed. I grabbed this. This was on the floor. This big, chunky 8-track player was sitting on the floor in the garage. And it's crusty. I mean, it's going to clean up. There's nothing bad on it. But I grabbed this thing. I mean, it's heavy. This is a heavy unit. And I brought it home. And just because of the novelty of it, I was like, you just put it on a shelf. It's art, right? So I started looking and I found on eBay that exact same unit is on eBay. And that says it's for a 69 or 70 Galaxy. So I'm thinking that the door might have been from a Galaxy. It might have been a 69 Galaxy or something. But it had that tape deck. Most of the boxes I looked into, there was some stuff there where nothing was identifiable. Like the part numbers were not there. There was a set of vent window frames, like probably out of a truck, and the rubber gasket was there, but there's nothing that really stood out. There's another set of things that I did grab. Like, you know what this is? You can see the paper still on it, and it's pretty deteriorated. But this, the truck cabs, you'd have your piece of stainless that they would put up on the window frames, there's 4 of these. And the thing is, they're different lengths. So I don't think they've ever been installed, but they're different lengths. So I think it was like for maybe a crew cab truck or something. Again, do I need it? No, but I thought I'd grab them. Really, other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of stuff worth getting. The houses were gutted. I mean, one other cool thing that was there. There was an old refrigerator. The ones that came up and were rounded at the top and had the great big chunky handle on it that you could pull, the door open. But I was like, how am I going to get this out of here? Because all the terrain was rough. The ground was roughed up from the tree cutting equipment and all that stuff. And I was like, man, I would like, this is a cool refrigerator, but I don't even know if it works. And I don't know that I want to actually try to get it out of there. So anyway, that was just kind of a scavenger hunt that I did. And I don't know that like I said, the door would probably not be worth having, but it was kind of cool to be allowed to go in there and look around. But that was the A-Truck player. So good subject, Mason. Glad you brought that up. Bad Harry, doing gaps for door and trunk to quarter panels on my fastback aftermarket parts suck. Thank you so much for your videos of how you trim quarter at B-post. They are turning out pretty good. Yep. You're welcome. And yes, aftermarket parts suck. Ray, hey Barry, yeah, it's the only reason I watch. It's because it's clean. Thanks. Good. Thank you, Ray. Dale, I'm hoping not to see the crank for a while. Just trying to stop the bubbles in the radiator. Oh, yeah. That's not a good feeling. Barry Seifert. Hi, Joe. Was looking through some of your older videos today. I know I'm off subject, but was wondering how your LED shop lights are holding up. Thanks. Well, they're still up, still running, and they seem to be fine. I've done a couple different sets of these lights, like the 8-foot runs. I put in and replaced all my regular fluorescents with 8-foot LEDs using the original, tombstone heads or whatever. And then I put in these, there's an array of 6 LED lights hanging up above that I recently did. And I have, I think, 2 more up front. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of them in here right now, and they seem to work fine. Now, for my purposes, one of the things I don't know why it shows up on, but like in the paint area, I have the LEDs in there. Probably not the best choice, honestly. Probably should have stayed with the fluorescents because it affects your vision a little bit when you're looking at paint work. But the other thing is, like this little camera that I use right here all the time, if I do time lapse, because of the whatever rate on the LEDs, it'll create like waves in my videos. So that's one drawback to it. But if you're not doing little camera work with LEDs or time lapse, it probably shouldn't matter. But yeah, I still like them. Good question. Wally, my 68 is a C code 289 with 302 block was normal as they were phasing out the 289. Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of cars that would say 289 and actually had a 302 block in them. Dale, that's probably what I've got. The tag says 289C 67. It was built in September. Okay. Dave Conville, Ford boxes. Yeah. Yeah, they were not in good shape. And Ray says it's Ford item. Yeah, that A-track player. Yep. Wally, that is cool. We had one in my wife's Torino. Yeah. I mean, if somebody's looking for one of these, and I don't have all the brackets and stuff. I didn't see any. There's supposed to be brackets that hold this thing into your transmission tunnel, but I don't have any of that, so I'm not going to worry about it. Wally says 74 Torino. Okay. Well, I'm just basing it on what I saw in the eBay ad. Said 69 to 70 Galaxy. So that's all the only information I have. Brian says, OMG, Barry, that is the exact door I need. I want to give you $8 billion. Yeah. Okay. Big King, vent visors usually have part numbers stamped on each one. That could ID them. Well, it's possible. I haven't gotten too far into it. Like this one, they're stainless steel. And you can see the green paint is completely intact on the backside of this one. So, but there's no numbers on this at all. You've got a kind of a straight front edge and a tapered, or it could be inverse of that, depending. I think this would be for the rear. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see what it says. Well, it does say auto vent shade. Oh, wait a minute. I just spotted it right up here. It says auto vent shade. And it looks like, I don't know what it says. L32, L1, maybe? Might need a magnifying glass to get to that one. I know it says 32L1. Might be an F. Might be F32L1. So if you're doing a scavenger hunt, or you know what? It's F32LF. F32LF. Whoever had F32LF, claim your prize. Now we have an idea of what it may be. F32LF. So, Big King Fish. Good answer on that. Thank you. Mason, 8-track player. I have 8-tracks and cassettes, but I don't have any 8-track player anymore. Haven't been able to find a portable 8-track player at any thrift stores. Those are very hard to come by. Very hard to come by now. Bob, I went out to my garage and tried YouTube again. Your channel did come up on, so that was the problem. But I'm already in the house. It's warmer in here than in my shop. Okay, good. Robert, change exposure to 120 hertz on the camera, and that should take care of the lines. I don't know if that's possible on this little Osmo, but thank you for that. I'll see if I can't figure that out. Doyle, you are a Iron Man. You could make the brackets for the 8-track. Oh, I could. Yeah, it's not that hard to make something like that. But it's whether it actually works or not, I don't know. And whether I have a use for it, I don't know. But yeah, I could make the brackets. Raleigh had a pair of those vent shades on a 70 Ford F100, shiniest part on the whole truck. Yeah, LF is left front. I believe that. Yeah. And like I said, it's F32LF. So that's the only numbers that I can actually see on that. But F32 is all I have to go by. F32LF. And that's a shorter one too. I'll have to do some research on that. Mason, I do have a cassette player to all my old cassettes I have. Good. Now we might have a guest tonight. I did send a link to Brian, and he may click on that link, and we may get him in here in a conversation. But we'll see. But it's something I want to show you. I've talked about this a few times, and Rick stopped by today. March Indy, he stopped by, And he brought me this. Look, I'm 7 again. I'm 7 years old again. I didn't realize. Let me just show you this. I'll just show you. I want to show you this picture because I've shown it before. Yeah, that's me in 1974, I believe, playing with this kit, spin welder, making this little kit. Now, I've been looking for one of these for quite a while. Not to build. I don't want to build it. I don't care about building it. But I've been looking for one of these for quite a while. And Rick contacted me a couple weeks ago, and he said, "Hey," he sent me this picture, and he said, "My neighbor has this, and I want to know if you want it." And I'm like, "Yeah, of course I want it." Now, the thing is, it's missing. It's missing the little gun. This item, and it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter because I really just want the box. Inside the box, somebody has played with it. Somebody has tried to put it together. But inside the box, it has, the bag of all the parts. So is it modern Ziploc bag? Should be a giveaway. It looks like all the little welding rods are gone. I think they were on that gray Christmas tree thing. So those are gone. It does have the instructions, which is cool. And it does have all of the attachment pieces to create the airplane. So all the skin. Now, what I'm thinking of doing, because I really just want it as a display piece at this point. You can see the box. There was something sitting on this, so it crushed it. And so what I'm thinking of doing is I want to keep it together. I thought about doing it. Somebody can give me some ideas here if you want. Open this up on the bottom. This is creased. I may take a piece of like balsa wood or something, or maybe some paint sticks, something, and glue it to this panel to try to get it flat again. Just to make it flat. Might do the same to the top. Just reinforce it. Maybe create kind of a box within a box so that I can maintain the cover. It's either that I don't really want to. I thought about would I want to cut this off and put this in a frame, but I really don't think I want to do that. I would rather keep the whole box together and reinforce it. And this says Mattel Inc. 1974 right there. So I was 7 years old when I started playing with one of these. Just one of those happy things. Making my little airplane. Let's see. Phil, Barry, how long do you leave your 2K to shrink back before blocking for paint? Thanks. Actually, I try to leave it sit for like a week, at least a week. Now, others may say, "Oh, you don't need to wait that long." I look at it as I would rather wait as long as I can and get that shrunk down as much as I can and not have to worry about it at all. I've gone even longer than that, but I would probably go at least a week just to be comfortable with it. That's a good question. Ray, too cool, Barry. Yeah. That's a really just a really cool thing to have, and I thank Rick for getting that for me. Let's see, Mason, do you have old cassettes you want to get rid of that you can send me? That's what's that, a model airplane? Yes, it is a model airplane kit. I don't think I have any cassettes that I want to necessarily part with. I mean, I have a briefcase full of cassettes from when I was in the 80s listening to everything, but I don't think I have anything I want to part with. Big King, all auto part numbers. The first F stands for Ford, then the number stands for application, then the LF is left front position on vehicle. Yeah, I figured that much. So 32, whatever 32 is, I don't know what 32 is. Now I'm gonna have Brian come on. Greg's here. Hey, Greg. Glad you're here, Greg. I'm going to have Brian come on, but he doesn't have any video. So we'll probably just do an audio session with him. And then I have something else I want to show you later that showed up for Christmas. So if I don't think about that, remind me. So let me get Brian. We'll see if this works. We'll try it with just audio. So you've got a blank position there. Brian, I got you on the screen. How you doing?
Yeah. Is my sound okay?
A little hollow, but not bad.
All right. Sorry I didn't have the video. My camera's just not doing well, but it's certainly good to hear everybody on a Monday night again.
Well, I'm glad you're here. What's going on with you?
Well, I'm in the north, so I have snow to talk about, which I know you hate. We've had our big snowstorm of 2022 over the last 2 weeks, which has kept everybody busy around here. So it's good to hear from everybody.
Yeah. So I'm assuming, I see Brian B. You're looking for the differential.
Yeah, the same one, and one of the participators had mentioned that that 23 spline, but this is the 27 or 28 spline, and I've talked to people in the industry, and to me it's very strange because the Ranger is almost like Mustangs of the small trucks. It's like the aftermarket is flooded with parts.
Okay.
But no one makes a factory style limited slip for the front of, in my case, a 96 Ranger, which is a Dana 28. Very strange, but they don't. They simply don't. Very, very strange.
Yeah. Now, I know, I guess I have to look at it from this aspect. Is there a demand for such a thing? Because normally, if somebody's, a company makes stuff because there's a demand for it. So I don't know what the demand is for something like that.
Well, apparently not, because you're exactly right. If there was a demand, it would be made. There are lots of people making rock crawlers and high performance aftermarket things out of these Rangers, but nothing stock. My truck is completely stock, which is the way I want to keep it. Tire size, everything is stock on mine.
Well, somebody had mentioned about a 95 Mustang.
Yes, and if I wanted to do an axle, I could do anything I wanted, right? I could put a straight axle. I could do any of that stuff that I wanted to. I just wanted to throw a third member in there with the limited slip. You can't do it, apparently.
Well, what he's talking about, Raleigh says, see if you can find a 95 Ford Ranger regular cab. My 95 Ranger had limited slip front and rear, but it also had a Ford high ride package.
Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, I'll have to research that because I'm not familiar with it. But I'm sure they offered, because mine did come with the track lock rear, but the open front. And I'm not knowledgeable enough to know if they came with a limited slip front option or not. But it sounds like he knows. So I'll have to look into that.
He commented that his front differential and axles on his 95 Ranger was all Spicer.
I believe Dana is Spicer. Yeah, I believe they're the same. Yeah. And
it's like you're saying. I understand where you're coming from. You want to keep it stock in appearance and everything like that. But like we're saying, the demand for such a thing may not exist. But like he is saying, there may be some factory Ford options with the oddball, like he's calling his high-rise package. I've never heard of that. So, Ford, it's just like anybody else. They'll put out some oddball branding of an item and call it a special edition, right? So, but you may be limited to trying to find one of those special editions just to get that axle.
Well, that's exactly right. And that's where I was disappointed, because I thought having a Ranger, and they made millions and millions of these trucks. I thought, no problem, just put in limited slip front axle Ranger, and I'd have an 800 options.
Right.
And I found out that's not true.
Yeah.
It depends on the demand, just like you're saying, Barry.
Yeah. Now, I'm not familiar enough with these to know, but is the Explorer in the same family as that, or?
Yeah, same family, but not a whole lot. Well, I can't say that. Uh, the parts don't cross as well as, say, a Falcon and a Mustang, because essentially they were the same car, but the parts. Let me say this: the parts cross probably about the same. Just because they're about the same doesn't mean they are. So
Right.
You have to be very specific. Yeah.
Well, you got me thinking a little bit. Now, again, I don't even know the options for this stuff because I just don't know. But like I had a 72 Chevy 4x4, and those vehicles inherently had weak axles under them. The drivetrain, the differential was pretty weak.
Right.
And I exploded both the front and the rear differential in that truck. I had put big tires on it, and I blew them out. Now, what happened was my brother actually fixed it for me. He put a set of axles out of a 76 Chevy Blazer underneath my 72 Chevy. What that means is the Blazer had really big, heavy axles under there, real big. The housing was bigger, the center section, everything was heavier. But to make that fit, he had to move the perches, I believe, because of the width difference. There was a difference in how they mounted.
Yeah, the spring purchase. Yeah,
the spring purchase. So I don't know. Again, we're talking about the Explorer, maybe. I don't know. We're saying the crossover is not direct, but I wonder if there is something where you could just modify the mounts to get that axle to fit from an Explorer, let's say, and it would still look stock. It would take a little extra work, but is that an option? Maybe.
Yeah, that is an option, and I know that could work. It's just all I'm trying to do, because the thing is very, very capable as a 3x4, to be honest. And I would just like the added comfort, and because of who I am, to have an actual 4x4.
Sure.
Because people don't realize that when the truck says 4x4, that's not necessarily what it means.
Right.
If it's got an open rear and front, it's a 2x2.
Yeah. Yeah. So, technically, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. But so I'm just looking for something that would bolt in there. And I thought for sure it would be just readily available. And I found out different. So I was surprised by that because I'm new to this as well, Barry.
Okay. Well, Robert, the Infernal Craftsman says checking the junkyard inventory, and they don't show a specific posi option. So it was possibly very rare. He's checking, an inventory. And then he says, how about going with a Dana 35, as that was also used in that year Ranger?
Yeah, and that I don't know about. I would have to look into. And that goes back to what you were saying, Barry, about exploding your front ends. That may be why they didn't offer the posi, because it was putting too much stress on the U-joints and axles and etc. So
that is very possible. I mean, I know we like to think of, it's like if you look at any modern vehicle, let's say, and it says, oh, it's off-road capable, off-road ready, or whatever, and you see a modern pick a 4x4, anything, and you see a modern one, is it really something you can take seriously off-roading? Or is it meant to just like, I can put in four-wheel drive and drive through my yard? Because a lot of these things that they advertise, other than like the whatever the Super Raptor Ford, which really does have good suspension and stuff under it, is it become just a number and a name saying, oh, it's a 4x4, right? SUV or truck. But I know in a lot of cases, in certain generations of people, look at a 4x4 as something you could seriously take off-road versus what they're selling,
Right.
So like you're saying, maybe it's a 4-wheel drive Ranger, but we don't want to give you too much capability because it's going to break. type of thing, so they limit you there. But
and just for perspective, when I was talking to one of these specialized 4x4 outfits this afternoon, Randy's Worldwide or one of those places, Yukon Gear, they specialize in this stuff. And I don't remember which one it was, but they were saying, no, it's not that uncommon. If you look at and I'm picking these numbers out of the air because I don't remember, but they said, a 75 to 83 Chevy half ton, they don't make posi for the front of those. And like I said, I picked those numbers out of the air, but that told me that they were saying, well, we can't put posis in those because there's too many weak points.
Exactly.
We don't want to add it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's like Robert. That's like Robert saying right here. He says 4x4s don't have those durable cast iron transfer cases, etc., like the old trucks had.
Exactly. I think my front carrier, it's a pumpkin like the old Ford 9 or 8-inch, and I believe it's aluminum cased.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, again, they advertise it as it's technically a 4x4. Just don't try to do anything serious with it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Shane says when Rangers went electronic switch, the transfer case became more unreliable. The yank handle was better. Yeah. So all those, when they became electric, where you just pushed a button that said 4-wheel drive, versus the old Jeeps or Scouts or anything where you had to pull a couple levers and do some real mechanical movement. Totally different animals.
Yeah, I hate to tell on myself, but I had a 1959 one-ton International 4-wheel drive.
Ooh.
That I believe had the old, it was divorce transfer case, and I believe it was the 205 that had mechanical, but it had 2 shift levers, one for high-low, one for in-out.
Yep.
I sold that, and the guy called me about 5 years later, and he said, did the 4-wheel drive work when you sold it? Because I can't get it to work. And I said, you might want to check the mechanical connection. And this is where I hate to tell on myself, because I was broke at the time. I didn't have a cotter key, and I put a nail in the mechanical linkage, and that may have failed.
Okay.
So, the old mechanical is, of course, the best way to go.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I know. I mentioned before we had an international Scout at the junkyard, which was just all fell apart. But I mean, it had like a 3-speed shifter, and then I think it had 3 levers on it instead of like in and out. It had like in and out, high, low, 2-wheel high, 2-wheel low. I mean, it was like a whole combination of levers that you could move and get different configurations.
Yeah, you had to be a mathematician. Yeah.
It's kind of like, have you ever seen the videos of the I can't mention the trucks, I don't know, the semi trucks where they have like 2 shifters in them, and I've seen the videos of these guys, and it's like amazing. There is no pattern. There is a pattern, but it almost looks like, if you ever seen one where it's like a 13-speed transmission, and you shift this shifter a couple times, and you shift this one a couple times.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you got a 2-speed rear end.
Yeah, and the pattern is not like 1, 2, 3. It's not like you would picture a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. It's like 1, 2 is over here, 3 is by your leg, 4 is straight ahead, 5 is straight back. Those things are crazy. And I don't know how people can, how bad do you screw that up if you downshift suddenly, and you get it in the wrong gear. But I've watched some videos on those people driving whatever they are, Peterbilts or something, and they're like all over the place,
Yeah.
So the Scouts and stuff weren't that complicated, but it was still, you could have a lot of variety to it.
Yeah. To get back to classic cars other than 4x4s, I'm sorry, audience. My Fairlane's coming along. I think I've got all the 5-speed swap parts together. That that was a chore, not because they're prohibitively expensive,
Right.
but when I bought the car, you could pick them up for nothing 15 years ago. And now everybody's doing it. Of course, it's getting more expensive. So
sure.
Got all those parts together. Plus, because of the build I'm doing, I was going to build a Mach Boss 302, which Edelbrock used to make parts for. They no longer make. So that makes building my car going back to what Ford did, using the Windsor block and the Cleveland heads and doing the welding and machining and all that stuff. So it's becoming more difficult, but I'm going to pull through and I'm going to do it anyway. So
yeah.
Yep.
Well, there's, like you're saying, the car market is crazy. What people are buying and selling and how much they're getting for things right now. But it seems like there's no lack of interest at this point.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see it. And I'm not sure if I'm right, Barry, but one of our regular listeners, one of your regular listeners, Mason Fox, he seems like a young guy. I think he's fairly young compared to us.
He is. I think he's probably about 18.
Yeah, just based on his comments and stuff.
Yes.
And I'm really happy to see people of his age interested in what we're talking about.
I am too. Too. In fact, I think I've sent him some a license plate or something. But I'm excited to have him in here. Anybody who's interested in these old cars, I want to have in here. It doesn't matter their age, but the younger people is fantastic. And if he's willing to be part of this, I'm overjoyed to have him here.
Absolutely. It's encouraging to me that there are still people out there of a younger age that are interested in, the 60s, 70s type of stuff that we generally talk about. So it's great.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
Yeah,
we need more of that.
I think so, because I remember when I was 18, 19 years old, and people in my family were restoring, like your model. Is it Model A you have?
Model A. It's a Model A.
Model A, yeah. Those were really old cars at that time for me.
Sure.
And now I think the cars we're doing, people of his age kind of view the same way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I think the nice part about the cars of the 70s, let's say, is they're still have an appeal because of the look of the car. They're used in movies, like even though in John Wick they destroyed some 69 Mustangs, it brought that car back out into the the visual arena, let's say, movies and stuff. And people were like, "Oh, I remember that car. I had one like that." And then suddenly it could be my dad had one of those, or hey, telling her son, I had one of those when I was a teenager or something. And in some aspects that helps keep the car industry or the car interest there. Because you can't have like whatever it is, I don't even know what they are. The crazy movies where they drive the little foreign stuff and they rob semi trucks on the highway. I don't even know what that's. Whatever.
Fast and Furious or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I can't even watch that stuff. But
I watched 3/4 of one of those movies, and I can't even tell you which one.
Yeah, it's so crazy. But I mean, that is also somewhat. It's kind of like if you think back to the good days of NASCAR, right? When people were racing the car that you could buy, what it looked like on the floor of the showroom. So you look in the 60s and 70s, even into the 80s, it was a rolling advertisement is all NASCAR really has ever been. So you look at the Superbird or pick a car, any of them. And the big manufacturers were like, well, we get people looking at these cars for 2, 3 hours, 4 hours at a time. Let's put them out there.
Yeah.
And it's just been a long commercial racing,
Yeah.
So they would say, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. And now, like the cars they have in NASCAR, they're just stickers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all it is. There's stickers on a body that they all the same,
We'll think about stock car racing, right?
Yeah.
STOCK.
Yeah.
What did that mean? It meant stock car, as
Right.
manufactured car.
Yeah.
It has no meaning in today's racing.
Not at all.
Whatsoever.
Not in the last, probably close to the last 10 years at least, have they had anything that looks similar. Now there was, you got into the 80s when they had the Aero Coupes and the Thunderbirds and, different, they had some cool looking cars that were built again to be raced because of aerodynamics. And then eventually that just kind of went away.
Yeah.
I don't even watch it. I don't even watch it anymore. It just I don't have any interest in it.
Hey, and I wanted to say, Barry, before I have to go tonight, I really appreciate what you do, and I appreciate what you're trying to do. There's a couple other channels that I subscribe to that I go to their live chats, and it's kind of a double-edged sword because they have more subscribers, and during their live streams, they have 8, 9, 1,000 people, and you can't participate.
Right.
Because they can't possibly do as you do. So although I'm hoping you grow, that will take a. You see where I'm going? It'll be different,
Yeah,
and the people here are generally here every week, and it's a group that gets together, and I appreciate that. So I want to let you know I appreciate it, and the people that participate that I appreciate it.
Yes, I agree with that. And I have, I have people that are moderators. They try to help keep the riffraff out of here. There are people that always try to jump in. So I appreciate those guys helping out along the way.
Yeah.
Because it's not, I mean, it's fantastic. Because here I am, I'm sitting here trying to do this and have conversation and whatever. But in the background, I have other people who are like watching as the same time. They're putting in effort as well to help this progress and keep going. Now I don't know what the appeal is for the other guys that have 1,000 people show up. I really don't know. I haven't looked at any of their live streams, so I don't know what they're doing differently. But I don't plan to follow their suit, necessarily. Because I'm just not that. Maybe it's my personality is too bland. I don't know, but I appreciate your comment.
Yeah, no, I did. I've been coming to your live streams probably from about the time you started them, and it's been pretty consistent. And consistency is always good.
Sure.
At least in my mind, it always is. And,
yeah.
And I wanted to mention too, and I was sorry that it got brought up earlier because my comment when I first came on was going to be, I'm ashamed of you, Barry. I can't believe you have all this content on here that is horrible for people to watch. Because I got the same warning when I came. I said, "What is that?"
Yeah, and that's the first time it ever popped up on that thing when I was setting it up. I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. So
they have to be ahead of the curve, Otherwise, people's feelings might get hurt.
Yeah, well, you don't want that.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Let's go. Exactly. Yeah.
So there you go. And I want to get started on the paint, and I'm scared, Barry, on my Fairlane. First of all, I need lighting, which I'm glad you brought up the lighting earlier.
Right.
I only have 2 8-foot fixtures in my garage right now, and I think I need a bunch more. Would you suggest LEDs or some more fluorescents for painting?
Well, for painting, honestly, I would probably prefer the fluorescents. Okay. Now I'm used to what I have with the LEDs, and they may work fine, but I've had people comment who like paint professionally. They've seen the LEDs and they're like, you shouldn't have those in there because it distorts your view. I don't know that it necessarily does so much. I know I made a mistake when I painted the Mustang the first time. That I could have corrected easily had I had, again, one of these things. I've talked about this. This is that light from Harbor Freight.
Like a sunlight, yeah.
Yeah, sun gun. The things are super bright.
Ow!
And so get one of these if you're going to do some paint work,
Right.
so you can see what the paint is doing, on top of the primers. But for me, I'm okay with the LEDs. I know what I'm looking at,
Yeah.
and it may not affect you. It may not. I can't say for sure, but I think the fluorescents do a better job, of lighting it. So
Yeah. Well, I'd like to I'd like to say something to people that are on here, like Mason, if he's as young as we think he
right,
is to not, if you have a love of cars, you don't have to have all the best stuff. Do not watch a show like Power Nation where they have all the best equipment and they have unlimited funds.
yeah,
If you enjoy the craft, do it because you like it and enjoy. And I hate to sound, I don't know what the word is, but enjoy the journey, not the end result. Just enjoy doing it.
yeah, and I
You know?
think that a lot of us have that feeling,
Yeah.
because even like Wally, he's got a '68 convertible that he's building, that he bought what he thought was a good car and ended up rebuilding the whole car anyway.
Right.
But I think honestly he's enjoyed the process, because it allowed him to get his hands deep into that car and understand how it's built and why it's built, and fix things that need to be fixed and improve it to where he likes it, more for himself. But he's also a car guy. He's got other car stuff going. I think Mason is he talks about his grandfather and stuff like that. So I think there's a fantastic interaction going on with that.
Absolutely.
And so that's a big plus. That's a big plus.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's important that people realize to get offline and just do what they like. Stop watching. Sorry, Barry. Stop watching what's going on online and just what do I like to do and how do I accomplish that within my means.
Right.
And you can do that easily if you just don't expect too much of yourself or your means.
Yeah, I get that. I've had conversations like this with my boys. They grew up in the '90s, so they were exposed to computers and games and all that sort of thing. And I remember watching videos of people out doing things, like outside doing things, and riding a bike and doing tricks, or the parkour stuff and whatever. And I'm like, oh wow, look at this, look at this. Well, you could do that. Why aren't you doing it? Go outside, do that. Well, I don't know. No, he's doing it. You can do it. There's nothing to, and I try to push him that. And so at some point, I guess it kind of worked, but yeah, get out there and get your hands dirty and do some stuff. And if it doesn't go right the first time, well, just take a step back, readjust, try again. Not everybody's a pro right out of the box. That's for sure.
No, and you absolutely don't have to be. I mean, that's part of the journey. Is learning those things.
Right.
If you don't enjoy learning, and you know nothing about cars,
yeah,
then go away, because you're going to learn. It doesn't matter who you are; you're going to learn.
Yeah, and and it's funny too, based on your generation. Like I've said before, my dad had a junkyard, so I was around cars all my life, and whether it's osmosis or whatever, I wanted to learn as much as I possibly could while I was young, and I would be out in the garage on Friday night and Saturday night if I wasn't at the high school football game. I would be out in the garage till 3-4 o'clock in the morning on my own as a teenager, and none of my friends were doing any of that. They were not interested.
You weren't doing the. Never mind. I don't want to get you flagged.
No, I wasn't. I mean, I didn't go to parties. I did not. My brother was a party guy, and I didn't want to be like him in that aspect. And so I would rather just stay in the garage and I taught myself how to weld. I learned how to take stuff apart. I used to take apart little lawnmower engines, and try to understand why this did that and how this did that, just because I wanted to know.
Yep.
And not everybody has that curiosity. We're not all geared that way.
Yeah.
But there's no reason you can't try, if you have some interest in it.
Yep. Oh, and that's another thing. Advice to anyone listening that cares about my advice: stop watching the welding videos on YouTube. Just stop it. I've never been to school for welding, and I'm not a professional welder. There's my disclaimer. But nothing I've ever welded has ever broken that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And I learned, I was taught by someone who was schooled. In other words, someone taught me who was schooled by stick welding. Yeah. My advice is stick weld first. First stick weld. Learn to stick weld. That's my advice. That's how I learned. Of course, everybody wants to pass on what they've learned, but
right.
Do not go to YouTube to try to learn to weld.
It's hard. It's really hard to teach people that way. It really is. I've tried to do some videos on that, but there's a feel to it. There is a sense of what's working and what isn't. It's kind of like when I was racing my stock cars.
Yeah.
And Roger, who lives next door, he was my crew chief. He was, and when I was driving, I couldn't tell him what was wrong with the car. He would say, "What's it doing? Is it pushing? Is it loose?" I said, "I don't know." Well, the problem was I was correcting everything with my driving technique. I would feel what was going on and I would adjust. And I couldn't tell you what it was doing because I was automatically fixing it,
Right.
So I could not give him information. And so it's kind of like that. To me, it's kind of like that with welding. You're trying to explain something to somebody, and it's like, if it does this, well, you need to change this a little bit or pull away a little bit or whatever. You can't really teach that. It's more of, I'm doing this and that seems to work kind of thing is the way I look at it.
Yeah. And what's interesting to me about welding is it involves, to me, all of our senses. I can smell it.
Yep.
I can hear it. The ozone I can taste. All the senses are involved in welding. And when it's right, you know it.
And what's funny about that is I'll be welding something, and this may sound weird.
No, I think what I just said was really weird. I think you probably make sense.
Well, when I'm doing a bunch of welding, I start craving steak. Whatever the smell is that I'm getting from welding, for some reason, I start to want to have steak.
That might be the sizzle. I don't know.
I don't know if it's a sizzle or smell or what, but I'm like, I could go for a good steak right now.
Barry, I was watching. Do you know Cold War Motors?
No.
They're a channel out of Canada. This guy builds body panels from scratch. Anyway, I was commenting on his channel. I watched him build some body panels, and he's not a shop. He does it for a hobby, and he's got like a ball peen hammer and a sand sack.
Yep.
He builds these multi-curved body, and they're perfect every time on video.
On video.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think the guy really does a good job.
Sure.
And I commented on his channel. I've got a small, like a 2-3 inch area behind the wheel well on my Fairlane that I've got a patch, and I feel so stupid when I watch his channel because I'm worried about making that little stupid patch panel.
Yeah.
Because I don't do it right. I don't do it every day.
Right.
And I haven't done it yet, so we'll see how it turns out.
But here's a thought for you, and you can look at an approach however you want, right? Some people will do a hammer and dolly. Some people use a sandbag. Some people use forms and all kinds of whatever.
Yeah.
I know Robert has done this on the Infernal Craftsman channel. Years ago, I did a 69 Camaro. I rebuilt for we had the body shop.
Well,
And
68 or 69, that changes everything.
Well, it was a 69.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know, but because it's almost it's 67, 69 is the same car. But the point being, at the time, I replaced the quarter panels, the tail panel, and something else. Anyway, but the corner pieces, like on the Mustang, you've got the little gusset corner, that holds everything together. It triangulates the quarter to the tail panel. The Camaro is basically the same way. It's got this form. And whether the parts existed at that time or not, I don't know. I thought I'd looked for them and I couldn't find them. But the wedges or triangles that went into the corners actually had a bump stop, a raised area to when you shut the deck lid, the rubber bumpers would hit, right?
Gotcha.
So
yeah.
And locks it down. Well, the ones that were in the car were in bad shape. And I don't know if they made those or sold those or not. At the time, what I did, and it's just an idea for you, I took a block of wood and I took that piece that I had and I carved out that block of wood with a sanding disc and used the original as a form.
As a buck, yeah.
As a buck.
Yeah.
And so I made 2 forms because it was a right and left. And I hammered those things out in those forms. And the guy we built the car for, he was actually my first lead mechanic at Delta Airlines. And I was a sheet metal mechanic there. And so when I told him what I did, he didn't care about anything else about that car. He actually brags about those 2 pieces, probably more than anything else on that car, because I made those by hand. I did not buy the pieces. So I'm just saying, and you couldn't tell. I mean, they look factory, but I'm just saying you might be able to reverse engineer it to where you build a buck out of the scrap piece you cut off, make sure it stays intact, and you might be able to do that.
Right. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I think the part that scares me the most is that there are 3 layers behind it.
Yeah.
That may or may not have rust. And so which ones do I take out first? If I cut this out, am I ruining? You follow me? I mean, being a metal guy, you follow me, right?
The other guy is the Fitzy Fabrication.
Yes.
He does some good stuff with that too.
Yep,
yeah.
I'll watch him.
So when I look at it as a layered piece, I just work my layers. I'd start with, whatever's on the outside and then get that out of the way, go in, Yeah.
Well, I'm not a stupid man, Barry. I just play one on YouTube. I'll probably figure it out, but I'm scared as hell of it, if that makes sense. So.
Well, the nice thing, I've had a conversation with another guy who's building a 66 convertible. We've had several conversations about what he's doing, and he's like, I don't know what to do. And I talk him through it, and I say, the nice part about it is it's metal. It's not wood. It's metal. And what that means is you can make another one, or you can cut it off and start over.
Yeah.
So that's the advantage to steel is you can work with it.
Yeah, and I've got an advantage. I've got a complete driving parts car sitting 40 feet away.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that part I want to replace is also bad. But,
yeah, that's pretty normal.
that parts car, what's the phrase I'm trying to look for? I've been trying my best to keep that car whole, so when I put my good car back together, I have something to go by. I get that. It's very difficult because I need parts and I need to take them off, but I don't want to do it because when I go to put mine back together, I want an example because I'm not that smart.
Yeah, you want a one-to-one puzzle. One-to-one puzzle.
Exactly, one-to-one puzzle. Exactly. So, is this working out okay? Is everybody following us? Or
yeah. I mean, I've had several conversations going on the side. Let's see. We were talking about the Ranger parts. The aluminum versus cast, and Pinball says it's all about weight savings, hence better gas mileage. Talking about the aluminum transfer cases. Durability takes a back seat when government regulations get involved. Yeah, that's true too. Raleigh says, I think we all put a nail in temporarily at one time or another, talking about your fix on the shifter.
Yeah. It's only temporary unless it works, right? Yeah.
Robert was talking about the semi shifters are insanely complicated. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Bob Noel on Facebook, they have several groups, and he needs to reach out to the FOMOCO parts trader. You could find any part for Ford in this group. So there may be some information for you. Thanks, Bob. FOMOCO parts trader may be able to help you with what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So make a note of that. Terry, how you had that plane at 7? I guess you're saying, wow, you had that plane at 7. I grew up watching NASCAR in black and white around 9 years old, but I can't watch it anymore either. Really sad. Yeah, it's not the same thing anymore. Jeff is saying, Brian, I can see where you're coming from too. I don't know.
Well, I've had lots of opinions, so I don't know which one he's talking about.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But thank you, Jeff.
Robert is saying the problem with LEDs is getting ones with an accurate color temperature and a high CRI. So Robert has some more information on the LEDs.
Well, he's way too smart for me because I have no idea what he just said.
I don't either. Lots of LEDs don't put out the color of light as they say they do. That is true.
Yeah.
Greg from Australia, Barry says, I've done my first live show. He's done a live stream as well.
Right.
Wally, let's see. Oh, talking about paint. He's saying, and if you're painting metallic, then dust each panel after applying coat to lay metallic down. So just talking about a painting technique.
I think he's talking the after coat. Yeah, I know what he's talking about, I think.
He says, and on the LEDs, agreed, unless you get the correct LED, use fluorescent lights. But my only comment is make multiple light passes rather than fewer heavy ones as far as spraying the paint. So that makes sense. Pinball says he started with oxyacetylene welding. And we were talking about, welding with a stick. That's what I learned on the old Lincoln Tombstone.
Yeah.
Big 220 Lincoln. And I've mentioned it before. I never had a good helmet, like the helmet with a headband in it and everything. So I would stick weld, and I would hold the helmet while I would stick weld. And what that did is it forced me to learn control with one hand. Some people use two hands on certain things. Like even now when I do MIG welding, I'll set up my left hand as a guide and maybe put my right hand on it and I may push with my left hand, just to get a smoother pattern. But when I was doing stick welding, I had to hold the hood. So I had to learn how to, manage that. And for the longest time, when I was even welding in here years ago, I would still grab that hood, even though I had a good hood with a, headband on it and everything. I would still grab that hood when I started welding. And I'm like, why am I holding my hood?
Yeah, just the way you learned. Yeah.
That's how I learned. So it was I had to break myself of that habit.
Yeah. And let me tell people out there my opinion on welding as far as I'm worried about stacking dimes. Listen, and this is just my opinion, a disclaimer, right? If you want it to look good like stacking dimes, that's great. The biggest thing is penetration and will it break?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about stacking. There are welds out there that look nothing like dimes that will never break. And there are welds out there that look like stacking dimes that won't last 15 minutes. It's the penetration that matters.
Yeah.
Learning what that penetration is and what it looks like is the important thing.
Yeah.
And I've learned that from people who are schooled. And I've proven it through my industry, what I've done. So,
okay. That's a very valid point. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Doyle, he says, I agree, Barry. My dad owned a garage, and he left me alone on Saturdays to run the shop, change oil, put on mufflers, pump gas, and do drum brake jobs. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I was, like I said, growing up, I was always in the garage. Always. Robert says, welding is all about lots of practice. That is true. Pinball says, Fitzy's fabrication is very good. He is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Greg is saying, Barry, I make all my parts. And Greg does. He does a lot of stuff on his own. He just built his I lost English wheel. He built this incredible English wheel, and he made
That's
everything.
Yeah, and that's the
Fantastic.
kind of people I like to network with because they are really into their trade and they know every part of what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah. And he does his own machining and stuff. It's
Yeah,
really cool. Really
yeah.
cool stuff. Harvey, having a complete mostly original 68 Mustang was a huge advantage building Tina, the 68 Mustang, from the ground up. See, that's why,
Yeah.
yeah, the spare car is always good to have.
Well, you need that one little bolt. Where did it go and why does it look like that? Now you know.
Well, and that's even, I've run into that when I was putting Jade back together. Because if you start with the first video, everything was out of the engine bay except for the basic engine. And the I was putting stuff together and I found something in the one of the boxes, and I was like, "What is this?" I even brought it up on the live stream, I think. And basically, it was a ground strap for the hood that was just a piece of copper that was like you attach it to the firewall, and it went around the seal, and it was supposed to make contact with the hood and scratch the hood to create a ground.
Yeah, it's for the turn signals in the hood.
Or well, no, it wasn't for the turn signals. It
Well,
was for
whatever.
static. It was supposed to be for the radio, from what I understand.
No, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I have Barry. I'm sorry, but I have to disagree with you on this.
Okay.
It doesn't mean I'm right. If there's nothing electrical in the hood, I do not believe that is for static.
Well, let me tell you, the lights themselves,
Yeah,
they have their own ground.
fair enough.
It's not grounded to the hood. It actually, the wiring runs all the way down and it grounds to the cowl.
A separate wire.
A separate wire.
See, now I learned something.
Yeah.
This is why I come here.
See, and supposedly it had something to do with the radio to try to avoid static interference from
noise. Yeah,
a noise. Whether it worked or not, I don't know. But that's what that little piece does. And I didn't know that. And I looked I bought that red 68 and it has the same thing on it. And that car did not have the hood, the turn signal hood.
Well, I guess I have to agree because my Fairlane, which is about the most base model you can have, first of all, Fairlanes didn't have turn signal in the hood.
Right.
It does have that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right.
So it was about grounding the hood.
Darn it, I'm wrong.
I mean, I was dumbfounded by it too. I'm like, why did they think this was a good idea?
My hood's creating static in my radio.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
But that's what it was for. So
AM 1400. Oh my
yeah, exactly. Harvey says, I learned how to gas weld long before MIG welding. Did using the spin welder count as experience? I think it did. Because this would actually be in fusion welding. So I was way ahead of the curve.
Yeah, isn't Barry? I was going to ask you this the first time you brought it up, but that's hot glue, right?
No,
it's not.
No. It is actually. Let me just show you just look at this picture right here.
All right.
You see the 6-volt battery?
I do.
The little drill is an actual drill. Okay. Like it's set up like a drill motor. If you look at this picture right here, you see these little gray things?
Yeah.
Those are the welding rods.
They're not hot glue.
No.
They're metal.
Those things, you push them onto the little shaft of the drill.
They're metal?
No, the plastic.
Then it's hot glue.
No, it's not glue. It's what it does, it spins. It melts. It melts the plastic together.
What is the material?
It's plastic.
It's hot glue then.
It's not like hot glue, like a hot glue gun.
No, I understand, but it's not metal.
It's not metal, but it's plastic fusion. Is what I look at it.
Okay.
What's that? That's why I look at it.
All right. Fair enough, Barry. Fair enough.
Because glue, I mean, I get what you're saying, but glue is a liquid compound that you put between two panels and it dries and adheres them to each other. That thing, you would put the two pieces together, apply the spinning plastic rod and dissolve or melt the plastic together, and it would basically merge the two pieces together with the third piece.
It would bond two similar materials without being a third.
Well, the third part, the third became part of the other two. It actually,
you know what? You're the host. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Well, I mean, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. It's when we think of glue as a liquid. Well, like,
yes,
if you're,
I wasn't trying to disparage your story. In fact, I love your story. I just reminded me of hot glue. That's all.
Well, I get that because, but it's the heat is made from friction. It's
not in hot glue. It's made from electricity, just like the spin welder with the 9-volt battery.
Well, sort of.
Now you're coming to my side, aren't you?
Well, I mean, it's not preheated. Let's put it that way. It's not like a glue gun where you preheat the stick and then you just push it out and it, you glue to fabric or whatever. It's not like that.
Okay, now, not trying to change the subject, but I'm going to. Do you remember the 9-volt batteries like you're talking about, the big dry cell 9-volt batteries?
I remember little 9-volt batteries.
Well, do you remember this? Sorry, not the 9-volt, but this big square 9-volt, the
6-volt. The 6-volt.
Were they 6-volt?
Yeah, that's what's in this picture.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Do you remember making magnets out of those where you take just a regular nail and wrap wire around them and make an electromagnet out of them?
I never did that.
Oh, that was fun. You take a battery like that, take a regular 16-penny nail, wrap a bunch of wire around it, and hook it up to the battery. You had electromagnet.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah.
That sounds like my my 1938 erector set.
Yeah,
probably. It had an electromagnet in it.
Yep. Fun times.
Yeah. Let's see. Here's another comment. No nonsense, no how. What state are you in? I just posted a video on a Samuel Chevelle I picked up. Darn thing needs quite a bit of body work, which I have zero experience in. Yeah, I'm in Georgia, so I don't know what state you're in, but probably can't help you with it at this point.
Sounds like a state of needing body work.
Yeah. Dale says my Cougar has no lights and has the ground, so his Cougar hood also has that.
Oh yeah.
And Pinball's with me. He says friction welding. So maybe not fusion.
I don't know who he's agreeing with. You or me.
No nonsense says, yeah, plastic friction welding. So I got two on my side.
Well, you're the host. What do you expect?
Yeah. Let's see. POV says my 67 doesn't have that wire and I do not have lights in the hood. Okay. Yeah. Well, the piece of copper would have been about 3/4 of an inch wide, and it comes up, creates kind of a curve and goes around the seal. It wasn't really a wire. It was actually a rigid piece of copper. And so the hood would kind of catch it and scrape on it.
Yeah. And the rigid piece of copper has some little sharp points to scratch the paint. Yeah.
Doyle says plastic welding is correct. I have used milk cartons to fix a hole in a car battery. Okay. And Ray says friction would make the plastic melt and weaks the two pieces.
Weakens.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
And Robert says I'll be the difficult one, and I'll call it friction stir welding. See, that's because actually stir welding, that is a thing.
Oh, well, explain, Monsieur.
No, I mean that is, I can explain it because I've never done it, but there is
what is stir welding?
What's that?
What is stir welding?
Well, it's friction stir welding, and it is the same thing basically as what that toy is doing. Instead of having a electrical input that creates the arc and melt stuff.
Right.
It is actually taking metal and spinning it together on a seam.
Yeah, friction to create the heat.
And that's what the spin welder does. It creates friction and melts everything together as a unit.
Well, I'm intrigued. Now I'm intrigued.
There is such a thing as friction stir welding.
Huh.
So.
Oh, I wanted to bring something up, if you don't mind, Barry.
Sure.
This is something I've been trying to research for probably 10 years. You were talking about toys you had as a kid.
Yeah.
Along these subjects.
Yep.
And I can't remember what this was called, but you were talking about some tanks that you played with that may have been battery powered. Well, an aunt and uncle of mine bought me and my brother this kit when this would have been about 1970 or 71. Now, this was also a tank set. I want to call it quarter scale. The tanks were maybe 8 to 10 inches long, and they ran on just air tubing. About 1/8 inch air tubing was your track. That was a track. You could lay it in any configuration you wanted. And you'd lay this track out, and these tanks had little missiles on them that were activated from underneath from things that went in the air tubings that popped up when you hit a button. And I have no idea what it was called, and I cannot find it on the internet anywhere. But it was the absolute coolest toy my brother and I ever got for Christmas, and I don't even know what the name of it is. Tanks that ran on an air tube with missiles that were air actuated. It was really, really obscure, apparently.
So what drove the tank? Was it battery?
Batteries, yeah, 2 D-cell batteries, yeah.
And so and it would follow a piece of tubing.
Yes.
That you would lay on like it had. What made it follow the tubing?
A little single grooved wheel underneath the tank.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so at a certain point, provided the air.
The air was a little air pump that you controlled. So if it had a missile launch, it had a little flapper underneath. That when you drove over it, you would hit the flapper and it would fire the missile.
Okay. That sounds like a really complicated toy.
Yeah, but simple at the same time.
Yeah. I don't. What year was that?
Like 70 or 71, between 70 and 74, say.
Okay.
I've never ever. I can't find it on even a picture of it because I don't know what to call it for one.
Wow,
thing.
that's whatever you. And it got tossed at some point.
Oh, of course,
yeah. I mean, I'll have to maybe do some research on that.
Yeah.
Quarter. I don't think quarter scale it would be the number though, because tanks are pretty huge. So if it's 8 inches, that's probably like 32nd scale or something.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's the best I can remember where they were 8 or 12 inches. 12
that's
something like
that. It sounds cool.
It was absolutely cool because you got like 80 yards of this tubing, so your track was unlimited. We ran it through our whole house.
Wow!
As a track, it was awesome.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, it was.
Now, when you're talking about this, you made me think of because I don't know why it just popped into my head. I had a couple of toys. I can't remember if it was a Volkswagen Beetle or what it was. It wasn't wireless. It was remote control with a wire, before they had all the radio control stuff.
Yeah.
But that little thing, I mean, I don't remember the control itself. It might have been forward and reverse and left and right, whatever. But that little car, you would put vegetable oil in it in the back. It had a little hole that you would put vegetable oil in. And it had an internal heater. And when you would drive the car, it had dual exhaust on it, and it would blow smoke rings.
No, it was a little diesel engine. Yeah.
Well, it was just making puffs of smoke to simulate, that it was running.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool. You don't see stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think I had 1 or 2 of those, and of course those are gone. But
yeah. Well, you remember the chem kits you used to be able to get when we were kids. If you were into chemistry. I mean, they have
the Gilbert
things outlawed now.
The yellow tin with the Gilbert company produced this yellow, and you would open it up and it had like 2 doors and there was a chemicals
everything
in all
in
the
it.
doors.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my brother had one of those.
Yeah, and he's still alive.
No, he's not.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring that up.
No, that's fine.
No, I apologize.
No. Seriously. To be 100% honest, I'm surprised he lived as long as he did.
Yeah.
For the life that he lived.
Yeah.
Honestly, even back when we were kids, he used something with that Gilbert kit. All I know is there was an explosion, and everybody, my dad and mom, came running. I don't know what happened. He doesn't know what he mixed together, but there was a big, So
the point was they allowed kids to explore and do stuff back then, which I'm in favor of. So I didn't mean to bring up the other thing. I forgot about that. So
no, that's fine. I mean, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I mean, it's we're all going to go one day.
Yeah.
We're all going to go one day. I would rather go out on my terms.
I got my COVID test back today. It was negative.
Yep. Well,
it was funny because I was supposed to have surgery today, and it got canceled because I had a COVID test pre-surgery, which was Friday. But serendipitously, Monday I got sick. And I've been sicker than a dog since Monday. And I go, well, maybe I got COVID. I don't know. But anyway, it was negative anyways.
Yeah.
Just regular cold,
Okay. Well,
all kinds of going around. So.
Hopefully you can get your surgery in and have that taken care of.
Yeah, now I gotta reschedule it. Darn it.
Yeah. Wally says he has the ground strap, but as you know, the lights in the hood harness has a ground wire as well. Yes. And Ray was trying to say weld whenever he made the comment. Friction would make the plastic melt and weld the two pieces together. Yes. And Ray says, okay, I got a question. Has anyone sprayed candy over a non-metallic base? That's a good question. I have not.
I have. I've done that.
Okay. How did it turn out?
I'm lying. Such an obscure question.
Well, it is. I mean, I guess you could spray candy over anything. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be metallic.
Yeah, it'll darken the color every time.
Sure.
Yeah.
It'll change how it looks, that's for sure. But I can't know. I don't know if anybody's done that or if it's even practical to try it.
Well, as long as chemically they're compatible, I guess would be the word.
Right.
I don't see a problem with it other than what result you're looking for.
Yeah.
I
don't have an answer for that.
I don't either.
Dave says, was the tank followed magnetic?
No.
So it was just that tubing, air tubing.
Yeah, just air tube. Oh, and by the way, now that Dave's back up there, I wanted to say, who finds things more scary, the cat's eyes or Dave's eyes in that picture?
Oh, I can't hardly see it. It's so small.
It's thumbnail.
Yeah, okay.
Which are more scary? I'm not sure. Yeah, Dave.
Anyway, I think we've covered some good ground. Hopefully you can find something with that Fomoco parts guy, parts link. If you can follow that, maybe to help you out with the Ranger.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think we follow some good stuff. Oh wait. So Dave is asking, so the tank just straddled the tube. Yeah, that's what he was talking about. It has a third, like a guide wheel, probably like a pulley. It looks like a pulley, I would say, that sat on the tubing, and the tracks moved it, and that thing followed it, kind of like a ride at the fair, where they have the track that the kids would think they're steering the car, but it follows the track regardless.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So that's what I see it as.
Yeah.
But I've never seen one of those. So
perhaps none of us ever will again.
Yeah, probably not. Oh, Ray is saying he's a cat guy. I have 4. So Dave, just kidding, Dave. I'm not a cat person. So anyway,
what are you, a John Deere guy or?
Yeah, John Deere, Massey Ferguson. That's what I prefer.
No Volvo.
No Volvo. Oh, Dave says the cat was his buddy named Smoke, who passed last month, and he was a ham in front of the camera. Okay. Well, sorry,
Oh,
sorry you lost him.
making me feel like crap, Dave. Thanks.
You're batting 1,000 tonight.
I guess so. I don't. I do the best I can.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close to quitting time. So I may just let you go.
All right. Well, thank you to everybody who put up with me, and thank you, Joe Daddy, for having me on.
Well, I'm glad to have you, even though we didn't have a visual. I'm glad to have you at least talking, and that makes it good.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to hang up and listen to what's left of the show, and we'll see you all Thursday, I hope.
Okay.
Keep it up, Daddy. You're doing a great job. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll see you.
All right.
Bye. Dave says that the toy sounds a little familiar, but I'm a little too young to have had that toy. I would like to see one of those. I have not. I can't picture anything that had an air tube powering or make it, function like that. I can't picture ever seeing a commercial for that. It just doesn't register with me. So maybe they exist. They're probably gone. I don't know. But here's something I wanted to show you guys, because we haven't talked about food tonight. So I'm going to throw a food item out, right? I have not talked about food tonight. It's just been random that we talked about ethnic foods that we've had or grew up with, and different things like that. And I've mentioned this item before, and I'm mentioning it again because I forgot to say that I got some of these for Christmas. Growing up in Pennsylvania, southern Pennsylvania, whatever, near Johnstown, right? Johnstown is the biggest city around. We used to have these things called gobs, and I've talked about these before. This is you only find these where I grew up. Now, other people call them different things. I think they call them whoopie pies, different stuff like that. But I wanted to show you, I got some of these for Christmas. This is the official Gobs cake, GOBS, and you can order these if you want to try them. You can order these online. The company is Yost. Yost is the name of the company. These were made, from what I remember, for like coal miners. The cake itself is pretty dry. It doesn't compress very easily, and it's got a kind of a hard icing in the center. And coal miners, when they went into the underground caves, mines, they took food with them, and they wanted something that was durable that they could take and eat in the mines. And that's my understanding. Now, again, I grew up with this stuff, but Yost and it says Dutch made. It's YOST, apostrophe S, Dutch made bakery. So if you're interested, these are unique to my area, and that's the only place you can get them, and they're called gobs. There's if you go to the surrounding, let's just say, if you're from Pennsylvania or even Ohio, and I don't know how far they've reached out into Virginia or West Virginia, but Sheetz, SHEETZ, is kind of like your Quick Trip or whatever, gas station. That is the big company up there. They have their own version of these that they sell. And let me tell you, those honestly are better than these. Just telling you, they're better than these. Chocolate with a peanut butter inside. Let me tell you, get some of those. Cup of coffee, you're set. So just wanted to show you that. Let's see. Ray is saying, have a great night. Brian, it was fun. Yep. And Dave, great show tonight. Thanks. Yep. Bob Knoll, my family is from Johnstown or Jamestown, Pennsylvania. I'm not sure which. I don't know. I've never heard of a Jamestown, Pennsylvania. Johnstown is where they've had two major floods. 1977 was one of the major floods, and 1896 or something was another big flood they had up there. So I can't say, I've never heard of Jamestown, so I don't know. But we're going to call it a night. I want to, thank Brian for being in here and having some great conversation, talking about what's going on and parts that he needs, what he's looking for, and general conversation. Talking about having young people involved and getting them out here and being part of this is fantastic. And we need more of that. I'm not against having young people coming on and being part of this process. But I want to thank everybody for being here and participating. THR Man with a Plan. How much for the hats? Well, hats are a $25 donation. Will get you a hat if you live in the States. Not shipping. I mean, I could ship them overseas, but it's going to cost a lot more to ship. But if you're interested, send me an email. Let me see if I can pull that up. I have a banner. So if you're interested in a hat, send me an email right there. joedaddysgarage@gmail.com. We can communicate on getting you a hat. So glad you're interested. Rick, have a good night. Barry, thanks for another good show. Thanks for being here, Rick. And Greg, also, Barry, great show. Thank you, Greg. Okay, so we're going to call it a night. I will be back here on Thursday at 3 p.m. I hope to have the Honda Civic video, part 7, edited and get it up on the, getting it up on YouTube as soon as I can. Again, I'll be doing a video for Yes Welder on their new welder they sent me. And hopefully soon I can get started on the Camaro and get it moving. But that's going to be it for tonight. Thanks again for being here. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.